Well, hi again, everybody, and welcome to our final Inside Furman Athletics for this athletic calendar year. I am Dan Scott. I think most of you know the guy sitting to my right, the head coach of the Furman football team, Clay Hendrix, and going to get kind of a chance to end where we started and kind of preview where we'll probably start when we resume these in mid to late August again. How you doing?
I'm well. It's slowed down a little bit, which has got some off time coming up, and our coaches just came off the road spring recruiting. These are all rising seniors. Most of our guys are gone in May for the Maymester, and we should get everybody back here. I think freshmen come June the 3rd. The old guys probably come back June the 4th, and we'll have them here for about, 5.5 weeks for another break, and then it'll be on.
Then it's on.
Then it's on.
Well, right out of the gate here, you talked about having some time off coming up in advance. An early happy anniversary to you and Leanne coming up, right?
Well, thank you. Yeah, get number 30.
Yeah.
Next week. So,
and I just kind of taking a guess on how these things work. I know how it is in my marriage. You look a lot older, I'm sure, than you did 30 years ago, and I bet she doesn't look a day older, does she?
I think she looks younger, actually, but I know I look a lot older. So.
This is a man who has been married 30 years and knows all the right answers. Well, congratulations. I know you guys are looking forward to some time off. How was spring practice from your standpoint? Did you get everything accomplished you wanted accomplished?
I did, or we did. I think, I think football is maybe a little different. We kind of operate in these phases. We came back. We took a month when they were just with Andre as prep before spring practice. Obviously, we did the early spring practice. Certainly had a ton of guys coming back. So I thought it was really productive. I had to get a little creative with our practice schedule. We went early mornings a couple days a week. And I thought the things we felt like we need to get better at, we did. We were still a little bit limited in the offensive line from having enough healthy bodies to truly go probably maybe scrimmage a little more 11 on 11 tackle. So that was limited. But I told Matt McCutcheon he might have been the offensive line coach with the most individual time ever this spring. So I think it was good for him. We were getting a couple of those guys back that had missed. We had the two guys miss the entire season. Mm-hmm. But now I was really pleased. And, I think the goal for us, we wanted the 5 weeks after spring where it was nothing but Bernardi time. It was bigger, faster, stronger. I think that's so important to us. And so thought we had really good numbers in the spring, testing numbers at the end of the spring. I mean, you go in there and you test just like you play games just to kind of see where you are. And I was really pleased with how that turned out.
You made that decision to do the early spring practice pretty much when you got here to give that 5 weeks or whatever it is to the strength and conditioning before they go off for the summer. Is that something that you had done at the academy? Did Furman used to do it? How did that come about?
Well, we did it there, but we had done it here as well. The calendar was a little different when I was here before, but there's a couple of things. I like having the time. I like the recovery time. If you have some injuries, we didn't have a significant injury this spring. We had some guys still recovering from even off-season surgeries. They were limited a little bit in the spring. I think the other thing it's done for us is giving our coaches more time to recruit. Mm-hmm. We couldn't be on the road until mid-later April, but we were able to get a lot of kids here visiting, unofficial visits during that time. And so I think when we hit the road in late April, first part of May, we had a pretty good idea where we were going, who we were going to see. I think the days of going to hitting your schools and, Coach, do you have anybody? I think that's way behind us. I think, one of the things I just tell them, if you're going there for a reason.
Right.
And you just want to do the school evaluation. And, a lot of these kids are practicing in the spring, so sometimes it's a little bit invaluable to be able to get out and watch a kid practice. I mean, you might be there 5 or 10 minutes. You can body type them, you just watch them move. So I think that helped us, as well. And, this summer's big for recruiting, just as it is for our players, in the development phase.
And there's also the certain type of kid you have to go after at Furman, so it narrows the pool quite a bit, doesn't it?
It does, and in some ways that makes it a little easier.
Yeah.
Now, the problem is when they start dropping, that list is a lot shorter. And then I think the other thing, Dan, we last fall we had the best. In all the years that I've been here, I came here in the fall of 1982, and I can't say it's been tracked every single year, but I've said this, and I take a lot of pride in this, and I think our kids take a lot of pride in it. But we had, the best individual term we'd ever had last fall. Had the highest team cum GPA after the fall that we'd ever had. That we tracked it. And this spring we just had the highest term we've ever had, and we've got the highest team cum GPA we've ever had. And I firmly believe that has a big impact on how we play here. Kids are taking care of business in the classroom. It doesn't. It only adds to, I think, their ability to come out and do the very best they can at practice and play. And so we've been, that's a credit to our coaches and our kid. I think we have a pretty good formula that's worked for us. When we're looking for kids, and it's truly finding those kids that value the education that Furman can provide them. And I think that's always got to be number one here.
There are a lot of people in the world of college, not just athletics, but overall, who believe that athletic excellence and academic excellence are mutually exclusive, and that's on both sides of the fence. And I think what we have shown here is obviously that doesn't have to be the case. You just had the two highest semesters grade point average you just talked about, and you finished last season consensus 10th in the country. You can do both here at Furman University. I
really think you can. We certainly have our share of challenges here, but everybody has challenges. Everybody has problems. Every family has problems. And, our challenges, like I said, it goes back a little bit to the recruiting the pool, that you initially work with. But, again, we've had to continue to expand our footprint. I mean, I would love to sign a ton of kids out of this state every year. I just don't think that's going to happen. But as we've expanded our footprint in recruiting, well, it costs you more money now to do that. So there's all kinds of those factors to figure in. But I think it starts having a staff who's bought into that as well, and our guys are. And I think and even in the hiring process, hiring guys who maybe been at places similar, who understand that part of it, maybe played at some very similar places. And again, I think our staff has done a great job. A couple of new guys, which have been great additions in lots of ways. So it's been good.
And then on top of everything else, the addition of a postgraduate program has opened some doors. Furman's never going to be a school that's going to take a ton of transfers, but now you have the option of bringing in a kid or two that can fit the model of your program, and you've done that. It was just announced earlier this week that you're bringing in a tight end, Mason Pline, from Ferris State, and he joins a Wingate graduate transfer, defensive lineman Sarad Cook. So you're able to get the right kind of guy in, and that graduate program has helped that.
Well, it really has. It's been a good addition for us to have the ability to plug a hole here and there. We lost, I think I've said this, I think we lost one guy of our two deep on defense. Well, it was Cameron Coleman. And then having the ability to get a guy like Sarad Cook, we've talked about Sarad. He's already has a master's in accounting from Wingate and came in January. He's been a phenomenal fit. And he's going to help our football team. I have no question about that. And then, Mason just announced this week, just graduated, he's got a degree in mechanical engineering, wants to play in the NFL, wants to have the ability to catch some footballs and played in a great program that didn't throw the football very much, especially to him. So we're really excited about what he brings to the table. And, we've actually got a couple more that we haven't announced. Really they have to do one of two things. In the crazy world that's now the NCAA, they either have to sign the scholarship agreement, which is still not binding, or they have to have been accepted, to school. And I actually think we got a couple that already have. We just hadn't done that yet. And really, Dan, we have one spot is all we can take. I've never had to worry about the the magic number, the 85. Any kid that's on any type of football aid is a counter, and which is a good thing, just with the retention. You know, we started in January with 92, and we finished in May with 92. And certainly with the number of kids that we have come back, we signed a big class. You know, we've worked really hard at the PWO game because I could name guys on our team that have become really good players for us. So our sport is a sport of attrition, you know, and we had some challenges a year ago, you know, particularly in the offensive line with just numbers. So we've tried to address those and certainly having the ability to add some guys. I'm kind of excited going forward. I hope Furman in general, you know, sees this as an opportunity. You know, some graduate opportunities out there, maybe some that are going to come about. I don't know. I don't know of any, but I do know it's being talked about. I think it certainly benefits us, but I think it benefits Furman greatly as well, particularly as much as Greenville has changed.
So Clay gave you a little teaser. Stay tuned in the not-too-distant future, hopefully, for the announcement of a couple of other graduate transfers. I see we like that in the media business. It keeps people keeps people's attention and makes them come back. That's what, you know, ratings and all that kind of thing.
I thought you might like that.
We like that. That's really good. When you look back at 2022 and you talked about the offensive line numbers, knowing what it takes to play that position, and you know it better than anybody on this campus, are you surprised, amazed that you got through the entire season, 13 games, and did not have any major injuries that knocked anybody out for any length of time? I mean, because literally you had, 6, maybe 7 bodies that you felt like you could count on, and that front 5 played the vast majority of the snaps.
They did. You know, I was looking back. Evan Jumper missed the one game.
Right.
I think missed Charleston Southern. Was the only game truly, you know, that was missed. You know, now, you know, I knew when we started August we were thin. You know, we lose Garrick Vollmer, you know, who we had added. You know, we lose him maybe the first week of practice for the year. Luke Pettit was another guy that I would have said probably our top 7 guys. We expected both of those guys to play a lot for us. Luke had a lateral meniscus that started bothering him in the summer. I don't know if they really didn't know, maybe it was that. And he started practice and was trying to practice and just couldn't go and finally get all that checked out. Well, he had to, and it was one that such that it was going to have to be repaired.
Yeah, I was actually out at practice the day waiting to talk to you, the day that you announced that he was going to go
get
the
that
knife.
done.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, you lose those 2 guys. You know, it's one thing, too, to know you weren't going to have them available and you knew you were already thin, but just the way we had to practice. I've never had to do that before. You know, it's funny, it was almost an NFL-type plan. I called Brian Bratton, and I had a number of discussions. I was just asking him about how they did things and reps and I knew we had a veteran of enough team, but you know I knew we could have a good football team. But you know, there's Tyler Huff. You hoped he'd be a pretty good player for you, but you know Tyler hadn't played a ton of football in the last year and a half. We added, you know, some new faces, and again you could see that you felt like he had a chance, but you don't ever quite know how it's going to go together. But you know, keeping those guys healthy was really big, and you know the job Matt McCutcheon did with those guys was just incredible, and you know we're certainly in a lot better position.
Well,
now.
I was going to ask you, how do you feel about your depth now that the spring is over, heading into the summer?
Well, you know we got those 2 guys both back.
Right.
In fact, Garrett we limited a little bit in the spring, but Luke Pettit did just about everything. I think we got some older additions that are going to help us. We like the group we signed. So
stay tuned.
I certainly feel much better about where we are.
And then you mentioned Tyler Huff, new quarterback, new offensive coordinator, all of that, and how that came together as well as it did, as quickly as it did. Now with a full year and a full spring and all of that under everyone's belt, is it outrageous to think it's going to be even better this year because the continuity is there?
Well, I mean, I think you always want to be better. I'll be disappointed if we're not better. Now, does that always translate into the wins you want? All those things, I don't know, because, You know, I think I told somebody recently, our game's a different game. You know, the ball's shaped funny, it bounces odd ways, and certainly the injury portion is a big part of it. But, you know, you think about this time a year ago, Tyler Huff wasn't even here.
Right.
You know, we'd been through the spring. You know, Justin Roper certainly deserves a ton of credit for the job he did. You know, and credit our kids how they adapted, how they handled it, how they worked. That's kind of exciting about this group. I mean, this has to be the oldest football team I've ever been around. We have a lot of old guys, and we'll be a little sad in December because we'll have quite a few that'll be gone, or hopefully January. But by and large, boy, just how they've worked. You know, we're proud of the year we had, but I don't think anybody is satisfied with that by any means. And you know, all you can judge is by how they work. And I just watched them in the off season in the weight room. Leadership, you know, we voted. It's 7 captains and never even come close to that. And we probably could have added some more. Just we had that many guys that we felt like were exceptional leaders on our team. So we're at a good spot. You know, we got a lot of work to do. I think we've done the things that we need to do up until this point to give us a chance to go do the things that we want to do. But there's a lot to do between now and, you know, really between now and when we start practice. And then, you know, when you start practice, that's a totally different thing.
You have said since the day you came back to campus that your goal is to win a national championship here. And there's been a lot of work to get the program in position to do that. Did last year maybe signal to people who might have doubted that vision that it can be done here at Furman again? I mean, you lose to Incarnate Word, and basically the last play of the game saw what they did and what they did in their next game against Sacramento State and then to North Dakota State. Did last year, perhaps, if there were any doubters out there, did that maybe change their minds? Have you heard from people like that?
You know, the ones I hear from probably are the ones that think a little bit like I do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think this. I felt like I've been here a long time, and you know, a lot of really good teams, and we had a team I thought a year ago that could play with anybody. I really felt like that, and I certainly feel that way now. I really kind of felt like things had gone just kind of. We had been progressing. You know, I think certainly the COVID, that little COVID window there, that 10 months was really a big setback in a lot of ways for. You know, I thought we were right where we wanted to be going into the fall of 20. Didn't get to play, and then had some things happen, and we certainly didn't handle it very well. But you know, we are a developmental program. You know, and you know, I've heard Bob Ritchie say this, and I'm sure Bob feels the same way. But you know, we've got to recruit, you know, retain, develop players. You know, I've said this: we have 1 undergraduate transfer on our team, and I'm not anti that, but that's just the world we live in.
Right.
But for us, again, bringing high school kids in, I think that certainly helped us. I think we have a lot of credibility right now with high school coaches because I got a lot of friends that don't even recruit high school kids anymore. So, you know, again, I feel good about the little formula recipe for success. And, you know, the academic component's a big part of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, you know, the job Andre's done, I think it kind of takes everybody. You know, continued, you know, if you lose some staff members, you got to be able to add those guys. You know, we've had a bunch of guys who've been really loyal to us and loyal to Furman. And, you know, again, I'm really pleased where we are. But, you know, where we are right
pleased
now
but
is
not
good
satisfied,
enough.
right?
Well,
Yeah.
like I said, there's a lot of work to do. And I think everybody was due for a little break in May. And then, you know, we'll come back here in June. And, you know, we got like record roster numbers. That's something I've worked really hard at. You know, and quite frankly, I think that benefits our school. You know, I think that's a way to help our school a little bit with some of the enrollment numbers. But you know, so again, it's just everybody coming here doing their part. What I'm really kind of excited about this summer, you know, because we can only have them for 8 hours a week. You know, most of them are in a class, but between Andre, I give him most of that time. You know, he has about 6.5 hours. We only have maybe an hour and a half of football-related activities. A lot of it's video, maybe some walkthrough stuff. But what we don't control is what our older guys are doing. And, I knew when we got to the point where our old guys, I think our old guys probably could go run a practice if we needed them to. So, it's the extra work that's involved. Because if you're doing the minimum, you're behind. And I know even now, we don't have much going on. I think there's 14 or 15 guys around here right now that have been over there lifting. I see them. I've seen them out on the field working out, doing stuff. So, again, I'm excited.
A couple of quick things, and I'll let you go because I know that any potential off time for a football coach this time of year is precious. Every time a question comes up about future scheduling to Jason Donnelly, he defers to the head football coach. You're the head football coach. Is there anything going on in future scheduling that you can share with our fans?
I think our schedule's pretty set now. Maybe through like 26, something like that. I know through, the next 2 years, the 24, I say the fall after this year, they're both 12-game years.
Not this season.
Not this season, but the next two. Right. I think we've got maybe a Power 5 game for maybe the next 4 years. I know Rob really is who I talk to more about that than anybody. Rob's kind of been working that. There's a home and home with William and Mary on there. There's there's a return trip to North Carolina A&T that's on there. Charleston Southern knows us a game from last year. That was the we went there on the front end of a home and home.
Mm-hmm.
I think maybe it's 24 when they return that game. We don't have a lot of dates to work with.
Right.
And now the 12-game year, you do have 4. And I've said, I'm not for playing 2 FBSs. We're playing 2 FBSs this year because, Kennesaw State, when we play them, they'll probably have 80 kids on scholarship, 75 to 80. I know they're making the transition, but at the end of the day, that's what they measure it by. But it's pretty set, and I don't know. I'll ask Hunter, and about releasing. I don't know what has been released up at this point, but we kind of stay in tune. But again, what is so different? I was talking to a couple of the basketball guys the other day, and I know they're working their schedule right now, which is kind of crazy to me to think you're trying to get a schedule 6 months, 5 months, because ours is set so far in advance.
Right.
Because what's different for us is, you got to play on Saturday probably. You can't say, hey, let's get together and play on Tuesday, or let's get together and play 2 games this week. You can't do that.
Right.
And then a lot of times, even if you find somebody that wants to play, they're like, yeah, I'd love to play, but I can't play on that date. Well, we can't play on that date. And so that's what really is what makes it a challenge. But I do think we're pretty well set.
And then the other side of it is beyond 25 or 26, which is where I think your FBS schedule is set to. Not knowing what the FBS landscape is going to be next month, never mind 3 or 4 years from now. And are they going to still be willing to play those games?
Well, and some have been.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's almost a personal thing. Some have been because some have been signing them up, and we're calling. And some people just say they're not going to make a decision right now. Some are thinking about it, but it's it's a challenge, and Rob will laugh if I say this, but I would like to play 6 games at home every now and then. We haven't played 6 games at home since 2010. Other than a 12-game season.
Right.
And to do that, there's got to be a little bit of a plan when you agree to those home and homes.
Mm-hmm.
And I know I've heard Jason say this, that he said it, that I said it, which is true. I'd still rather play a regional game, to go get on an airplane to go somewhere somebody's not paying a guarantee. That doesn't make sense to me. I'm kind of the guy that, still you got to operate, from a budget standpoint. And, there's about 3 places in our league I same day it, and that doesn't, if I thought that was hurting our ability to play, then we wouldn't do that. I'm still waiting on a kickoff time for South Carolina. I'm assuming it's going to be at night. So we'll probably go there the day of, you know, and we can do that. We've done that in lots of places and played well. So, but it is pretty well set. And again, I don't know. I think sometimes they want to hold that so they got something to announce certain times of the year. But I think we're pretty locked in. You know, for about the next 4 years. I think both of those 12-game years, I think they're 6-6. And again, I didn't want 5-7.
Right.
You know, I did not want that. And so that's my take on it.
I got you. Finally, you kind of referenced at the beginning a little bit about the summer schedule, but just what will the next 2 months look like?
Yeah, June 3rd, our freshmen show up. June 4th, our old guys will be back. That's a Saturday and a Sunday. Summer session 1 starts June 5th, and I think lasts until July the 7th is the last day. So, you know, that's kind of our window there where it's most of our guys are in a summer class, not all of them, based a little bit on their schedules. Some guys are doing internships, but we have them all, you know, practically I would bet we have 99% of our team here. They'll have about a 3-week break after that, and our coaches will get a break then too. And then I think July 31st is our report day. And I think our first day of practice, you know, we actually have taken the exact same schedule we used last year because we opened on Thursday night at home. So I think our first day of practice is August the 2nd, which is maybe a Wednesday. I think that's right if I'm thinking correctly, and but that, you know, that's kind of it. Our summers are, you know, we're around here,
right?
You know, we have, you know, a number of camps, you know, which are big for us, having the chance to get kids here on campus and evaluate, and
never stops, does it?
Well, it changes. It doesn't stop. It kind of changes, and I think that it does kind of keep it interesting. So it's hard to get real monotonous before you move on to the next phase.
You know who is the happiest person on earth about the Thursday night season openers?
Who's that?
Angela Scott, because our anniversary is September the 1st. So we actually get a weekend off where we can do something now for the first time in 30-some-odd years, just like last year we got a chance to. So.
Well, I thought last year I thought it'd be pretty good. I really did. And, you know, I think certainly having, you know, we had North Greenville here who's close, I'm sure helped a little bit. I thought our students enjoyed it. You know, you have to ask people. But I got a lot. I don't know that I heard a negative. Now, maybe they wouldn't say the negative to me, but I think by and large most of it was positive. It was nice having a couple extra days, you know, before we went to Clemson. We'll go to Columbia this year. I wish South Carolina was playing on Monday like Clemson had played on Monday and had the short week. But I think we're sandwiched between maybe they open with North Carolina and then play Georgia, get us there in between. We need every little bit of something that can go our way.
Always looking for an angle, right?
Always looking for an angle.
That's great. Well, listen, thank you so much for your time. It seems like the older I get, the more I look forward to football season every year, and we have such a great time with you and your staff and your kids from the booth, and of course it helps that the product is pretty good as well.
That makes things a little better, and there's no question. I'll say this, Danny. You know, in all my years, this is my 30th year at Furman in some capacity. We have as good a group of kids, and we've always had great kids here. But man, there's something a little bit special about this group of kids, and probably a lot of them are so old. They've been around here so long, and could have gone and done stuff and taken jobs and probably gone other places.
I mean, Massachusetts will play this year and then start drawing his pension, won't he? I mean, he's been around here forever.
He might just do that. But it's been a fun group, and you know, the staff is phenomenal, and I still love coming to work with them every day, and so we're excited to get busy with it. And but again, I think everybody's enjoying a little bit of a break right now.
Well, I hope that you and Leanne get a chance to enjoy that break as well. And again, happy anniversary ahead of time.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
That is head coach Clay Hendrix, and as mentioned, this will be our final Inside Furman Athletics until August. Hope you've enjoyed it. But he said kind of a best of during the summer. All the things that we've done this year, some of the best of those moments will be repackaged and presented to you as if they are brand new during the summer months. So you'll be able to catch up on some things that maybe you missed early on. We'll be back with you again, as I said, in August. And until then, for head coach Clay Hendrix and all of us at Furman, I'm Dan Scott saying God bless you. So long, everybody.